looking for a podcast to help you transform your physical and mental? One that'll shoot you straight between the eyes with truth and no BS, helping you have the right mindset to accomplish things, the iron will and fortitude to follow through with what you say you're going to do. No excuses. Mark owns martial arts schools, and after 30 years, he has some real insight for real talk, real life, real conversations, motivational, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, live from the Great 1-8. This is Real Talk with Mark Cox.
There we are. Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon. Where are you at, Tina? Where do you live?
I'm in Connecticut, so I'm on Eastern Standard Time.
You're on Eastern Time. Yes. Well, good morning to me. Good afternoon to you guys. I'm glad you guys have got here. I apologize. We're a few minutes late. Those are online. I apologize. It's my fault. We've had a little bit of internet difficulty, but we're here now. We're rocking and rolling now. And I got a great guest today on our show, Tina. So let me give you a little bio of Tina, and then we're going to get right into what she does and her book and everything else. So here we go. Tina's a business coach, author, speaker. From Job to Joy, it offers tools and strategies to help individuals discover their passions, their life purpose, and create prosperity in their life. She has over 20 years experience in the corporate world as a talent acquisition strategist and a training development professional. She is also the author of Freedom, 7 Steps to Thrive in Life and Business, and From Pain to Peace, a mother's heartbreaking journey through losing a child. As a business coach, she empowers new and inspiring females entrepreneurs create a successful business that brings them joy, freedom, and prosperity. Her mission is to empower women to maximize their potential, find freedom, and live more purposefully. We welcome you, Tina. It's good to have you here today.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Got such an awesome smile. What's up? Such a good
It's
smile.
Monday too, right? It's Monday.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you got beautiful smile. So let's just dive right in. We got to meet at Sticker Shock. So this is something that you and I were together at. We joined a speaking to kind of help us with a speaking career, and that's where you and I got to meet. And then you had this real compelling story, and I said you got to get on the podcast. We got to talk about that. I'm sure you have a lot of people you can impact. So here we are today.
I hope to.
Yeah. Yes. Well, let's dive right in, because you have quite an interesting story to start with as far as your corporate world. Let's talk about what that looked like for you and how it got you going. So let's go right into it.
Okay. So my journey began. I've been in corporate for over 20 years, like I said, and in the training and development. I was working for a Fortune 500 company and loved training, loved being in front of people, sharing different topics. However, I got laid off from the corporate world, and that's when my journey began of having that uncertainty, that fear. I had recently been promoted to be an area trainer for the whole Northeast region and found myself laid off. So I'd never been laid off. So that was my first experience with, what do I do now? At the time, I was a single mom with 2 kids, and I really didn't know what to do. I had survived 9/11. I was supposed to be in the Twin Towers on 9/11 and got laid off 2 years later from that same company. So that's when I started to really network and really do some self-awareness, what do I do now? And during my journey, I discovered that a lot of us women, in my research, a lot of us women, and men too, I'm sure, are stuck, unhappy, unfulfilled with their careers, and yet they stay in a job. So although I was happy in the job of what I was doing, I wasn't happy going to an office every day. I wasn't happy commuting 3 hours a day of my life. And I got a taste of freedom when I got laid off. And that's really where I got the bug that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So Mondays are now beautiful because I don't have those Monday blues. that a lot of us have, going to an office every day and starting a week off, and possibly going to an office that they're not happy, especially with the pandemic. I think it taught us a lot about what do we want to do with our careers, you know?
Well, I think, yes, I think the pandemic does a lot of things. And you talk about fear a little bit. I think fear holds everything back in a lot of things. You know, whether it was speaking, after that, after our experience that we did together there, and I look back on my reel now, that's why you don't see me put my reel out. I'm not happy with my speaking on that day. And so I went searching for, I need to, I'm really good. I can get everybody motivated and stuff like that, but I'm not breaking my speeches down the way they need to be. And so I went to Toastmasters after that, and I have flourished in that. That has helped me tremendously, you know, become a better speaker, and how to make a speech and how to bring everything together instead of just, you know, spew out things. I know how to format things better, you know, bring the audience in a little bit more. So that's where I went with it. And I think that fear, even in Toastmasters, I see people want to come on there to learn how to speak, but they still are so fearful, even in a safe place, even on a Zoom call, to get up in front of it and do it, because they're just having a fear of, you know, of just doing anything. You know, risk takers are entrepreneurs. You got to take risk in life, you know, and when you fail, you got to dust yourself back off and go, okay, that didn't work out too well. So let's go on the next route. And so I've done this in my own life, because I was exactly like you, where I didn't work in a corporate world. Well, I guess it was corporate, but it was a machine shop, and I hated it. Now I was good at it. My dad did it. My grandfather did it. My great grandfather was a mechanic. So it was this way. I didn't do college. All my kids graduated from college. I didn't do college. It just wasn't for me. I've always had kind of an entrepreneur spirit anyway.
That's awesome. That's really great. Yes, that's really good.
Yeah, I had, you know, so I had to go and find this. And so when you're in something for a long time, you said something really interesting, because this happened in my own personal life. When I opened up my school, I was also doing pools at the same time when I was doing martial arts schools. I get up in the morning because I wanted the safety of the check while I'm trying to run a business. And then I had no choice, because I got laid off like you did. And I was like, oh, well, now it's sink or swim. You know what I mean? Now all my effort has to go to that. And I remember sitting in my school one night and nobody was there. And I'm like, I can't believe I have this. And why did I wait so long? And it all had to do with fear. So I don't know if that's what you help with coaching or not. Is that something in your?
I do, because what I learned in, you know, and talk about fear, continue my story, is that I started my business part-time, and I said, okay, I'm going to start my business, but it wasn't sustainable at the time to really make it a full-time. So I went back to a job. I did, and I became a recruiter. So I worked for a financial services firm until 2018, and I was there for 11 years, too long. I was going to be there for a couple of years, and then in 2018, it'll be 5 years this month that I finally, you know, no longer in the corporate world. And so, but fear is what got me to go to a job, because, you know, getting that paycheck, let's be real here, that paycheck made me comfortable, it helped me to fund my business. But it wasn't fueling my soul. It wasn't making me happy. And I really wanted to be an entrepreneur full time, where I can really make an impact in other people's lives. And I wasn't feeling authentic being in a corporate career, not doing what I love to do. And so today I'm happy to say 5 years later that I'm not working for a company. I'm working for myself. I'm in the driver's seat. I really want to elevate my speaking, where I want to go out there and share more about my story. But how can I help women really start to believe in themselves, that they can do it? And so I help in doing the inner work, because it begins here, right in our mindset. In my book, The Freedom, 7 Steps to Thrive in Life and Business, is really doing the inner work, because fear holds us back so much. And we just have that imposter syndrome. You've heard of that before, that we just may not believe in ourselves. We don't value. Who's going to want to buy from Tina Kadish? Who's going, what value will I provide to my tribe, my people? And, when you come from the heart, like I really want to help them really make a difference, that they can be out there, and being an entrepreneur is not for everybody, but I want people to at least say, I want to follow my passion, working with a company, aligning myself with a company that aligns with my values and my strengths. So that's really what, because I'm not saying that everybody has to be an entrepreneur. It's what I wanted to be. And I really love the flexibility, the freedom to be here today on a Monday afternoon here in Connecticut, to be on a podcast. That to me is freedom.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with that. I talk about corporate all the time. I say the living in corporate world is, they pay you just enough money not to quit, and you work just as hard not to get fired. That is the corporate bubble. So
true. So true.
it's just so, I've always felt that to be true in that world. I didn't thrive in that world at all when I was in it. Even as a young guy, I just didn't thrive in there at all. I just, I prefer being my own boss. And how we get to go up, we get to have a cup of coffee. I was taking my kids to school when they had events. I get to go.
Yep.
Field trips, I was the dad that was there. So it was lucky, and it was rough for me. I was an entrepreneur and went through a bad divorce after a 20-year marriage. But then my kids are somebody I raised all my children. So it was, life gets to be, you can certainly self-doubt yourself. You say interesting, because your forte happens to be with women. Is that true? Is that what is that what you mostly coach?
Yes, that's who I mostly coach, but not to say that, if a man comes to me, I won't work with them. Absolutely will. It just seems that I've been attracting more and more women to come, but I will definitely work with men as well, because I feel that they as well need help. I mean, really, being open-minded and really, really start to have a vision for yourself. Like, where do I see myself going? Like, what do I want to do, with my life? Because life is too short. And if we're miserable and, unhappy every day, you got to start asking yourself, what do I do? What am I going to do today, today moving forward? What action will I take? Even if it's one little thing, it's so important. Instead of staying in that surviving mode and just staying stuck and miserable. People don't want to hang out with miserable people.
That's true.
They don't. They really don't. Okay. You're going to push people away. Okay. So you got to take action. You got to do something.
So amongst your course of you, so you have a book out that's called 7 Steps to Freedom, and that's what it is. So where's that at? There's that book. I want to make sure we'll put that when I put this on the audio portion and you go on my website. I'll make sure all the where they can buy all that comes to you.
Yes.
On my stuff. But let's talk about let's talk about the number one step. So out of 7 steps, what's number 1?
Okay. So faith. So the word freedom stands for faith. So it's really believing in yourself. It's the foundation, in my opinion, of where do you want to go. It's that belief when you don't know how things are going to happen, but it's walking in faith, not by sight. And I actually put a post about this yesterday. It's really walking by faith every day. All right. R is release. Release meaning letting go of the outcome. We attach ourselves so much to the outcome. We don't let things go. We just stay in that place of attachment, And so what about if you're open to possibilities? So be open to possibilities, explore them. All right. I talk a lot about that in my book. The first E is evaluation. What do I mean by that? It's look at the bigger picture. Where we've been, look at that. All of those things we've done in the past are successes that have brought you where you are today. All that experience that I've had in the corporate world, those are all great skills that I bring into my business today. They're not lost. So look at all your successes, look at the big picture, and evaluate where you want to go. What do you want to do? And the second E is energy. Everything is energy. Money's energy. We have physical, we have our emotional. our money, our spiritual, everything is energy. And so where's your energy going? Is your energy going towards, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm too old, or I've done this forever. Because that's a common thing that, I work with women and men over, 40 plus. That's where they're looking to reinvent themselves. They're in transition. They're figuring things out. And so really, where are you putting your energy? Every day. And then D is determination. I was determined that even though I was in that job until 2018, I was determined to get out of there. And I stepped up my business activity. I stepped up my money, because a lot of times people don't want to leave because how am I going to make the money? How am I going to replace that money? That's a common thing. But I created a plan of action. And it was funny how things turned out. And then it was optimism. No matter what challenges we're going through, it's navigating the ups and downs. You're going to have a roller coaster. Being an entrepreneur, there's peaks and valleys. It's not easy. I'm not coming here today saying it's easy and everything is peachy. No, it isn't. You're going to have those ups and downs. You're going to have clients that you may not come to you. You're going to, you're not going to make that money this week. Maybe you're not something, but are you optimistic to go forward? And then the last letter of the word freedom is mindset. So I ended with mindset. Really begins with, what is your mindset? Are you going towards a solution, or are you going to always look at the problem and never looking for a solution? So that, I feel, is when you're doing those 7 steps, that's when I say doing the inner work to prepare you for entrepreneurship. Like getting deep into overcoming those barriers, like fear. When I work with my clients, I help them identify what is that fear that you have right now. And let's talk about that. Let's really discuss it. Let's get to the root of the problem. Why do you have this fear? Like, I've always had a money fear, scarcity of money. That was my mindset growing up. I always believed that there wasn't enough money, that only the rich get richer. And the money was the root of all evil. But it's not money's the root of all evil. It's what we do with the money. Are we, making an impact? Are we serving? Are we making a difference? So for me, that is what I found is the freedom that I believe is so important to achieve. Because for me, like I said, when I was laid off, I got the bug of freedom. And I said, how can I create? Because somebody came to me, I wanted to, how did I write this book? I'll tell you, I was on a cruise ship among speakers. And I wanted to be a speaker on the next year's ship. And they said, in order to be a speaker, you have to be an author. I was the only one not an author. So I became an author a year later. And I wanted to really talk about this word freedom. So that's how the book became. Well, thank you. This is Coach Toy. Yes, thank you so much. She's a great coach herself. She's in Georgia. You need to look her up herself. She's been in HR.
She's in Georgia. Well, you know what? I have property in Georgia. As a matter of fact, I bought another Airbnb. I'm leaving Wednesday because we're closing on it in Georgia. I go to Savannah almost every 2-3 months. I love it.
Oh, I love Savannah. I was there a couple of years ago. Beautiful. Yeah, Coach Toy, she might want to be on your podcast here as well, because she talks about career development. She has a podcast herself. Yeah, she has a podcast herself.
Yes, I will reach out to you. I will reach out to you today.
Yes.
That would be awesome. So tell me what you think. Tell me the number one fear that you hear from your. I always like to see what you hear. When you talk about fear, what is most people's fear about when you have your first coaching with them?
The biggest fear is, am I going to make the money being an entrepreneur? I want to be a business owner. However, how am I going to make the money? How will I replace my income? Can I do it? Will people want to buy from me? And it is a mindset.
It is. Because I've had this same, we just had an instructor training here. And I said, there's a difference between good instructors and great instructors. I said, there's many, many good instructors, but the great instructor is the one that has belief in what he's teaching.
Yes.
So when you have 100% belief in what you're teaching, that's what will set you apart from the good instructors to the great instructors. Because everybody's good because they're good at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatness comes from when you believe it 100% with zero doubt. That is what makes a great instructor, because the enthusiasm comes from the heart from there. So this is where I agree with that 100%. I just had this conversation yesterday with my students that were
And that's
going through
interesting.
an instructor training.
Yeah, and it's great that you said that, because when you know your why, because that's another thing that I coach my clients on, is knowing their why. When your why is so strong, it's why are you doing what you're doing, and you have that passion, that heart, and you know your value on what you can share, the money's going to come. But what we're doing is we're thinking from the head here. We're not coming from the heart in sharing what we do, and just being authentic, being yourself, and coming from the heart. I believe the people will come. You will attract the right people. You're not going to attract everyone, and you don't need to attract everyone. That's the other thing. You need to know who you are, who do you serve, and what is your value to the marketplace, and are you adding that value? That's something that I myself, as an entrepreneur, have had to do. I know what my value is? Do I share my value to my audience? Or because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, we question ourselves and we discount ourselves. We lower through our pricing of our programs when we really are worth more. I don't know if you've seen that, Mark, but I see this
Of
as I'm
course.
talking to people. Oh yeah, they're just so undervaluing themselves through their pricing. And that's something that I've had to work on myself. I'm not going to lie here. I've always gone on the lower end, and I've had to, my coaches have said, you don't understand your own value. Let's talk
Isn't
about
it
that.
weird isn't it weird in the coaching realm, instructor realm, martial arts realm, and in my business, I've always found this to be quite weird, that in my business, because I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, instructor, they think that my time, they pay a monthly fee for classes, but when I give you 15, 20 minutes of my time, well, that's just kind of part of it. You're a coach. You're just a coach. You know what I mean? And I've had this conversation with studios all over the place, and they make their prices lower for monthly so they can get a lot of people in. And I've told them, I said, you don't want a lot of people. You want quantity. You want quality, not quantity. Because when you have quality, you will get the prices that you need to have, and you can give your 100% to them. When you go like a herd and you bring it in, you get, as I have a couple of gyms that I belong to, right? You have a Crunch gym out here, which is a $10 a month gym.
Yes.
Then you got a gym that's $60 a month. That's only, very serious people come in there. $10 gyms. You have everybody and their mother in there. No, machine, all that. And so you get what you pay for. I've always felt it weird that in my organization, you want to, matter of fact, you'll make deals with people in the office. And my students watched me do this the other day. And I told a family that's coming and said, that's just not my pricing. Well, I need it to work out this way and this way. And I said, unfortunately, we won't be a fit. I said, and they were like, oh, Mr. Cox, you're going to, that's like $300 a month. You're going to move out. I said, it's not the $300 a month. It's the principle of the fact that, she'll leave here and tell her friends that want to come in here, hey, I made a deal with them. You could probably do the same thing. And then it's just a snowball effect.
Exactly.
Now, when they come, even if she does or does not, they know like, well, this is his price and he's not going to away from it. So if you're going to join, just know that that's what you're paying. And it took me a long, long time to get to that. Very long time. And I find myself as a coach, you probably do the same thing. I haven't yet to find a coach that doesn't do it. I give so much of my time away all the time anyway, that when I look back on it and say, there's not a doctor that gives their time away like that. You go in their office, you're paying. The hairdresser that's charging you $150 to get your hair colored and cut for the day.
Yeah.
And then we tip them on top of it. Right. So
exactly.
I think you hit on something so important, not just for females, but I hear the same thing for anybody. And that does come out of fear that you don't feel like the reason that you do is you just don't feel that you're worth. It
You're
feels
worth it.
almost right. And I tell a lot of people, I said a lot of coaches, because maybe it would have been hard for you to pay for it because of where you were in status. You could never hire a coach. So
Mhm.
you feel you have the mindset of an employee, not an entrepreneur now. But there are people out there that can afford you and that you
That's
have
right.
benefits for them. So
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that I think you hit on something really, really powerful. And but I think that's an across the board thing, including myself. I did this for years. I don't talk out of something I didn't do. I discounted myself forever, ever, ever. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. Me too. I mean, we give so much of our time, and it is, you're right, Coach Toy, quality over quantity is so important, because when we start to really know our value and have that belief in self, we're going to stand in our truth. We're going to stand in our conviction and say, I'm going to find the right people, the quality people. And also, when you have that mindset, I've turned away people also
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't the right client. All right. And so that, if I had come from a desperate, because at the beginning, if you're desperate and you really want clients, you're just going to take anybody, but you're not going to take the right people. So as you're growing, as you're learning from your mistakes, and it's okay. You want to make money, but it's quality over quantity. But it really does begin with your mindset. Like, what I'm offering, look at the impact that we can make on our people. What is that
Mm-hmm.
transformation that they will receive working with us?
Yeah,
Because,
that's great.
and I don't know about you, but I love the people that they're trying to figure everything on their own for free online, and but they don't even know if they're doing it right. We have a lot of free resources online, which is great. However, working with someone one-on-one, getting that direction, that guidance, that accountability is so important. Like, I needed accountability to work with someone, and it's so helped me when I had that.
That's I think that's 100% true. So having the podcast for as long as I have now, how I started mine and where I'm at today, because I get hit up quite often on, and I was talking to Emilio about this too, and I said, hey, I'm going to have to make this a business. So people that want to, I can coach them to get them started all the way to, from A to Z. But I told him, I said, where my forte will come in is how to interview, is how to make people feel comfortable. And then,
Good.
when I coach you, we'll have a mock podcast, and I'll be your guest. And then you'll be my guest. And then
Very
I'm
nice.
going to teach you how to interview. And I didn't hit it out of the park in the beginning. I remember going through this kind of stuff, and I was like, man, I can't, I gotta. So I went and found a coach. That's exactly what I did. And he just happens to be a really good friend of mine that is a top podcasting coach now. And I said, hey, I need your help. You need to, and he's the one that kind of fine-tuned me how to brand, how to do all that kind of stuff. Do you know how much time that would have taken me
To figure that on
to
your own.
figure all that out? Because there is a lot of free stuff out there, or how to use AI to your advantage where it's not plagiarism, but how to make it so that you can win back time. And can AI
Yes.
help me with win back time? Can AI,
Yes.
like today, like your title, this is how I get really awesome titles is I put your bio into my AI and I say, I
Oh,
want 10 suggestions on an awesome podcast title that will catch somebody's attention.
I like
And then
that.
they gave me 10, and that's how I choose you. That's how I chose yours. That's the one that
Oh,
caught my eye. And I said, this is the one we're going to use. And even that little thing about podcasting, because it used to be, if you look back at my own ones, it would have said interview with Tina Kadish. That what it would have said. It wouldn't have had all this eye-catching title. And that was my coach. He goes, "You're not getting as many viewers because nobody's gonna go listen to an interview with somebody they don't even know what it's about. They're just not gonna do it."
That's true. That's true.
And
That's
so,
very true. Very
and
true.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I started with that, and soon, right out of the gate, right, my viewership went skyrocketed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been doing that for a year. Stupid, right? And so I just told him, I said, this was such a good coaching. So I'm always out there. I'm always an advocate for coaching in a space that you need. It's unique that you do work with females, because I think that you'll bring something to the table. I think that I've talked about this quite often, about having a tribe around you, that not that you can't learn from the other genders or anything like that. But I do know that myself, I can say this for myself. I'm kind of that alpha male, right? You see me around,
Yeah.
I'm all about it. And so
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any one of these beta males that are just not in my realm. And I'm not going to sit and listen to what you have to say, because you just don't resonate with me. So when you say that you have even turned away people that's not a fit, looking for the fit, because I don't know about you, even my podcasting, like when I get to interview you guys, it's almost like I feel spoiled, because I get your time for an hour and pick your brains and learn so much more from what everybody's doing out there, that this is what makes the podcasting fun for me. It's like I get to have a virtual coffee with you while we sit and talk about what you do in life. And there's not a podcast that hasn't gone by that I was like, man, that was really powerful today. That was super good. Super good. I really enjoyed that. Or there's a connection that we have right out of the gate. Absolutely. It's happened every single time. I've yet to not have it happen. So
that's great.
And I've had to turn now. I turn very little people away, but I've had to turn a couple of people away from the podcast, because when I had a virtual coffee with them, I'm like, oh, this is going to go south. I'm not going to do it. So isn't that weird? So you have now before we go on to this next part of your life, you have your little trophy behind you there. Let's talk about how you got your little speaking trophy real quick.
Yes. So
was I there? I was there with you.
You were there. You were there. Yes. This was at Sticker Shock in Texas with Daniel Gomez, and I won the best inspirational speech, which was a total surprise to me. And again, sharing my story about my career, and then leading into, losing my daughter in 2020, and talking about having a voice, using your voice in our lives, because I've also gone through a divorce, not only lost a job, gone through a divorce, and lost my daughter to cancer in 2020. So going through those challenges, we all go through challenges in our life. How do we navigate? Are we standing in our truth? Are we using our voice? And so that's apparently it was very inspirational, and won that award. So I was very proud. A lot of people notice it, of course. And so this is something that, again, I love sharing my message and fine tuning my messaging depending on the audience, that I'm going to be in front of. Most definitely. And I love the fact that you mentioned Toastmasters, because I've done Toastmasters.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It's that Sticker Shock that you and I were at was my first. Matter of fact, I just saw Daniel Gomez. He was here in California. I drove out to him. He was here with his wife, and I drove out to see him for. I went and saw him and his wife, and we, they were at the Marina Del Rey, which is real close to me. So I drove out and said hi to them while they were here. So it was nice to spend a couple hours with them.
Nice.
But we spoke about this also. And I remember your speech. I remember that. I don't know if you remember, Emilio also spoke, and he was real about his addiction.
Yes.
And that's who I had to follow after everybody in the house is crying.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
Oh my goodness. I looked at Dan. I was like, are you kidding me? We need to take a break right now. That's what needs to happen. We need to take a break. And I had to follow Emilio's speech. I was like, oh my goodness. But it was powerful that day. It was, and I remember yours. I remember yours totally, and definitely well deserved. Terry Hucks, I think, won the first day.
He did.
along with, I think he was in Emilio's group, and Terry was an awesome guy. Him and I just got to really, he was on my podcast too. I really enjoyed that, man. That dude's a
I
strong
saw
Christian
that. He's a
guy.
great person. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
great person. He's
I
definitely a
like
great
that guy,
person.
man.
Yeah, he
Such a
does.
cool cat. Mhm.
He
I
is.
loved
He
him.
is.
So let's talk about, because you have another book that you have out,
Mhm.
From Pain to Joy. Show everybody that one that you got.
Yeah,
There
From
it is,
Pain
From
to
Pain to
Peace,
Peace.
a mother's
And
heartbreaking journey through losing a child.
yes, so let's talk about that. Let's get into that, because we had a little bit
Yeah.
of a chat before that you didn't know about. I've had this in my own family with my sister losing a child, but let's go ahead and talk about what happened here.
Yeah, so my daughter was diagnosed in 2019 of ovarian cancer. She was 37 is when she passed away in 2020. So she was sick for a couple of months and no diagnosis until it was later. Doctors didn't do any testing. So she was in pain for about 5 months going to her physician. And then it was finally diagnosed. And finally, when it was diagnosed and they did a hysterectomy, it came out to be stage 3C ovarian cancer. It had already spread. Now, for me, my mindset was, okay, we're going to get through this. This is another bump in the road. We'll get through this. And I never, and during the whole time of helping her, was always there. And this is another thing why being an entrepreneur, because at the time I was able to spend every day with her. And so grateful that I was able to do that. Had I had a job, I would have had to quit. So I was by her side every single day. And, she's in the hospital during COVID. When COVID first hit, I couldn't see her for over a month. And it was horrible. It was horrible during that time. And chemo didn't work. They gave us nothing's going to work. And clinical trials, she wasn't even eligible for clinical trials because she had a bowel obstruction that came from either the cancer or the hysterectomy. We do not know what created the bowel obstruction. And she died 8 months after she was diagnosed on July 2nd of 2020. So, and I was with her when she passed away. And, in the book, I share about, the 5 steps in using your voice. And it's really about having a voice, speaking your truth, owning your power, standing up for what you believe in. The always, again, optimism, because I'm a firm believer. I was optimistic that we were going to get through this together. I didn't even think that she was going to pass away. I might have been in denial, never really went down that road. And then I is impact. What is the impact of this that just happened? Or what is the impact that we want to make in our life? And then C is courage. I had courage standing up to doctors, the healthcare system, hospital presidents, speaking up on my daughter's behalf, to be able to be with her. And do it. E is empathy. Do it with empathy. And that is really, for me, what I have found, how voice helped me during that difficult time, was those 5 steps. And that I really today, that it was because of my voice that I got through it. And my belief in, having my faith in God is what also got me through it. The strength was all I got the strength within me that I don't even know that I had. And I had it till the day she took her last breath. And
yes, that is such a powerful, I told you, it brings back memories of my story, right? My sister's middle son, Cody, 4 children, pregnant wife.
Wow.
Firefighter in Colorado. And they found this little, like a lump way in the back down here. And he went from doctor to doctor to see because where it was is a very serious brain surgery.
Wow.
But he could also tell it was growing. So, maybe a little bit of slurred speech. And he was an avid hunter and just a great father, awesome marriage. They loved each other. And he had a successful surgery. So they got it. And he was the next day he's talking in bed and stuff like that. And I called him. I said, "Hey, Code, how we doing?" And he's like, I think I'm going to get through this and da da da. And then a week and a half later. So he was able to come home.
Okay.
He spent this whole week with his children. And then just one day he called my mom. He was close to my mom, right? Grandma. And he goes, Grandma, I don't feel good, man. Something's doesn't feel quite right.
Oh, boy.
And Grandma, my mom said, hey, you need to get down to the hospital. Then in the parking lot, he had an aneurysm. And it didn't kill him, but he never came to from it. And they had to make some decisions. And so every time in March is when he died 3 years ago. And every time it comes up because they did the walk. There was firefighters lined that hospital from here to Kingdom Come. And that's just Cody. Cody wanted to make sure other people could get, they kept him alive for 2 or 3 days so that they can use organs for other people. That's just who he was.
Wow.
And that's how he did it. And I remember going to the fire station, with the hearse, and we were all there. And I remember I said, I don't want to ride in the family hearse. I want to ride behind. I'm going to drive. And people lined the streets of Colorado to pay respects to Cody.
I could imagine.
I was just like, and we come from a strong Christian background too.
Okay.
And I think that I wanted to ask you about this because I listened to your interview the other day with Marilyn. It was either you or Marilyn that had a very empowering dream. Which one was it? Was it you or Marilyn?
Oh, no, it was Marilyn.
Right.
Marilyn.
I don't know if you had this happen, but we were so sad. I mean, it was such a sad day. And then you see, when a firefighter dies, the bagpipes playing in church and everything else. I mean, it even makes it even more
traumatic.
Sad. Just my folks, watching my folks and then watching my sister, because you're not supposed to lose children. You're not supposed to lose children.
Exactly.
And so, I went and talked to, all the firefighters out there and the police that were there, just thanking them. But my son, Michael, we went together to go to the funeral. Him and I flew out together for this. And uniquely, we find an Airbnb who's a firefighter. So they said, no, we're not going to charge you. You could just stay here. We're not going to charge you for that. And so we were able to stay at somebody's house that were firefighters. Now that's a God thing. That's not even
that is a God thing. Oh yeah.
But my son had this dream. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I remember that late night, the day before his funeral, we get up and I couldn't wake Michael up. He was in a deep sleep. And then all of a sudden he kind of wakes up and he goes, I said, hey man, I couldn't get you. He goes, Dad, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I said, I'm feeling okay. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, I literally felt saw Cody. He was at a fishing stream and he turned around, looked at me and asked me why I'm there. And and he said, he goes, you need to be, he goes, I am fine. I am good. And he said felt like an embrace. And he goes, I just woke up from that. Like it is as real as I can see. And I said, well, maybe God used you for that vessel, Michael, because you're the most unassuming out of everybody that would have the dream. I said, maybe you're the one that needs to have that. I don't know if you've experienced anything.
I haven't experienced a dream that vivid. All I know is that I've had her around me. Like I've actually felt hugging. Okay. Because when I've needed to be hugged, because my daughter was a hugger. She would always hug me. We had a great relationship. We were close. Like she was my friend. And the hugging really, she's okay. I mean, I really believe she's okay and happier up wherever. I just feel like I wish she was here. Of course, we want her here on earth. But I really believe that as time goes by, we just deal with it. We cope with it, but we never get over it. I've known so many people now that I've been meeting so many people that have lost someone, a child, and the grief never goes away. It's dealing with it and just remembering the memories. And in my book, I talk about that, being grateful for our time together, that I got to have her for 37 years. And we were close. We had a good relationship. We traveled together. I remember our last trip together. My daughter loved history. We traveled to Gettysburg, and that was our last trip. And it was a beautiful memory. And so I think when we remember our memories, but it's also like what Marilyn is doing, creating a legacy. So what legacy can I create? And this is why sharing my story, my book, is a way to create a legacy. But there will be another book. My daughter was a writer, and she actually has index cards of a book that she wanted to write herself. And that's going to be coming probably in 2024 about self-love. And that's what my daughter was writing about, is loving yourself. Because my daughter didn't love herself enough. And she was sick from, I think she had depression and she had a lot of anxiety, and she got sick with ovarian cancer. But I thought it was going to give her a second chance to realize how life was good. And she didn't really see it at the time. And so I thought she was going to get a second chance, but that didn't happen. So, when we're dealing with something like this, I think every day is being in the present moment, being grateful with who you have around you, and coming from kindness and being humble and serving, I think is so important. And it's something that I've learned myself, is being more in the present moment, not thinking about yesterday, not thinking about tomorrow, but today, being in the moment. And there are days that I'll think of good things and I smile. And I said, this is great that I'm thinking of this. That's all a God drop, all of those good thoughts that come in. So focusing on the good things is my point.
Yeah, I think that's good. Now, your book that you wrote about that, was it more like that is like you writing your thoughts down through the process, or what is
I
it?
will share that. Yes, I will share that. So I shared the first chapter is about the diagnosis, sharing my story about how it all happened. But the rest of the book is really about lessons that I've learned in this journey. Because I didn't want this book to be the 5 stages of grief. I talk about it briefly in the book, but it was really more about coming from, how do you have mental strength going through a challenge? What are some ways you can show gratitude? What are some, what support can you get? How do you bring joy back into your life? Because I talk about that in my book, is bringing joy. How do you find joy again in your life after you've lost your child, in this case? And so that's what I talk about in my book. It's really those lessons that I've learned, and that I want moms and dads to walk away with, what can I do? Like, I even have journal prompts in the book. After each chapter, there's some journal prompts to help people to really think about their story, themselves, their situation, because I didn't want it to be just the book of somebody died. There's so many out there. And
yeah,
it's a
there's so
quick
many of
read.
those.
It's very short. Yeah, it's a quick read. It's very short. I'm a short kind of person. Don't want to write a big book. And it's quick, concise, to the point. But I really wanted it to be powerful and share the message of how do we move on? How do we navigate the losses in our life? So that was my message, is if I can inspire another mom, another dad, would be so good.
Yes, it was. Now, was she your only child, or did you have other children?
I do have I have a son. So, he's the younger. So he's 35 next month, and losing his only sibling. I mean, now he's an only child.
Mm-hmm.
To me, now I wish I had more children. Had I known, I would have lost one, right? But so having an only child now, it's like, he's going through his own, him and my daughter weren't close, but they were always there for each other. They lived in the same town. They actually lived together. My son moved in with my daughter when she got sick to help out the family, and which was helpful. And so that really helped a lot. And so he's got his own, stuff going through, because a lot of it, we want to make sure that we don't have guilt and regret.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my son had some guilt that he wasn't closer to her. You take it, you know what it is? You take life for granted. You take people for granted sometimes. Like, who would have thought we would lose her? My dad, he's still alive. He's 89 years old, and he lost his first granddaughter. my sister, we have a niece. I have a younger niece who's 6. So that's really the only 2 grandchildren my dad has right now, but I'm really grateful for my son, to be honest with you. And I have my husband, and I'm very grateful for, and that's the other thing I talk about in my book is surround yourself having support, because you need support. You need family and friends around you when you're going through this. Because as I was going through this, my daughter had a great network, because my daughter was a giver. She was always helping others over herself. And she made an impact for sure.
I think that's powerful. I'm listening through some of the stuff you say. I think I see that through Cody had, he had a brother and a sister also, right? So he had 2 brothers and, my 2 nephews and a niece.
Okay.
I've watched them grieve too. Just, it's my parents, the grandparents watching my mom can just be sad on the day of it, man. It's just, it's hard. And she's a strong Christian. She knows where, to the point that she just, when it's my time, I'm just going to go up there and be with Cody. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like, right. That's what she talks about.
Yeah. My dad too.
I know that it's
too.
such a devastating thing. And then people have guilt. Well, I thought I'd ask you this question. Again, maybe it's selfish because I want to know, but I see, Cody's wife now. She's remarried.
Okay.
And that, and he also has 2 boys. So you have this giant family. And of course, this young man has taken on that role. But you know how hard it is to see the pictures on Facebook and know that seeing little Cody, his little daughter, he's never got to see.
It is sad.
That is a tough thing for the family, even though we know he needs to be there. Isn't that weird? I know. And
I know. And Coach Toy, she lost a daughter as well. And so she knows, because this is how we connected. But, thank you so much, Coach Toy, sharing my journey. And, it is sad because, and the thing is, my daughter wasn't married. She didn't have any children. And so I don't have, grandchildren yet. My son doesn't, have that too. And so seeing what's sad for me right now is seeing all of my daughter's friends move on and be happy, get married, have children, and my daughter did not. And that was the journey that my daughter was on. My daughter was on the journey. God has a plan, right? It's his plan. Who are we to say when it's not our plan? It's God's plan. And that's something it's still, it's a work in progress. I'm not going to lie here. It's something that I'm still thinking about. Like, why did she go? Why did your nephew go? Like, why are these people that are young going when my dad is 89? Like he said, I'm still here. Why didn't I go first? Or why did I outlive her? You know what I mean? So, but these are things we're never going to understand until one day maybe we'll get an answer. But while we're here, we're not going to get that answer, and it's we're really not. And so we have to deal with it every day, or choose to every day just do the best you can. And I feel that being a better person myself, and what can I do better to help continue my daughter's legacy? I want people to remember her for who she was, the good person that she was. I don't want people to forget her. So I will always, we set up, there's a nonprofit. My daughter loved books. We shared a love of books. My daughter and I always shared books. So we have a little free library. There's a little library in her elementary school that we set up in her honor, that you can give a book, take a book. And it's in her honor. It's in her town where she went to elementary school. And you know what's great? I was there yesterday. People are using this library They're giving
Oh, that's
books.
good.
It's overflowed with knowledge. It's overflowed with books. And I feel that that is really abundance. And it's coming from up there, coming from my daughter, because she's the one that planted the seed to her friend, and then I implemented it.
It's awesome. That's good. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
so good.
yeah,
I do
that's
the same
legacy.
thing. I do the same thing with my nephew, trying to keep him. I've got the firefighters flag with his picture in it. My gym is named after him.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
his name was
It's
Cody
beautiful.
Mooney, and his helmet number, is 1485. So in the military, CM stands for continued mission.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, you know what? That's what I'm going to call my gym, CM 1485, and that's a continued mission. And his name was Cody Mooney, and I just thought that
That's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
So that's what I did. I just wanted to ask you that question because I try not to ask too much around the family because it's such heartbreaking anyway, and I don't want to have a resentment for this young guy that's taken on this major role. Okay, because it has to anger can seep in there really quick. I
Oh
just don't want to
yes,
see that, because he's taken on something pretty major, and at the same time we're super sad that it's not Cody. It's just life sucks sometimes.
it
So
really does, Mark. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. Being a Christian yourself and saying that life does suck. Life is not fair.
that's
And as we're talking here about, joy and how do we find freedom and prosperity, you know, we are going to have these challenges. How do we prosper? How do we find that joy somehow during those when life sucks?
yeah,
Life sucks,
that's true. I do look back. I mean, Christ's life was not a bag of roses himself. You know what I mean? And
That's
then
right. That's right.
being just beaten, spit upon, made fun of, just so that we
Mm.
can have the hope that we have to see our
Yep.
family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do take solace in that a lot. I think that's where people, when they look in at us, they don't really realize that we have a hope. That sometimes if you don't have the hope, you don't. You got to make up stuff. So it's been
Yeah.
good. Well, we're kind of rolling up on the hour already. I can't believe how fast it
Yes,
went.
I
But
know.
let's not add on a sad note.
No.
Because I already got tears in my eyes like an idiot thinking about
No.
my boy. Let's
No.
talk
No.
about let's talk about, I'm going to give you the last floor, and let's talk about what you do, what you're looking for. You're the coach. Now you've obviously, you can be coaching whatever. Now you have an entrepreneur. You went from let's say corporate job into entrepreneur wise. You have something that you've gone through grief yourself and still processing and still making things happen, still getting after it. I think that's the mark of strong people. Just so we can be sad and have a tear here and there, but I'm telling you what, you're not going to get me down. I'm not going to wallow in my
And your
my misery.
sadness. That's
That's
right.
correct.
That's right.
I'm going to get after
Exactly.
it, just like he would be getting after it if he was here. And
Yep.
so,
Exactly.
I'm going to let you take the floor, and if you're looking for coaching, let's ask the coach, Tina. You give us some good insight to leave us with today. So I'm going to give the floor to you.
So, as we wrap up, like I said earlier, I help the men and women find their passion, their purpose, connecting them to their passion and really living life and really stepping out of their comfort zone and really stepping into making their dreams a reality. And if I can help you get that clarity, that direction. So a perfect person for me would be someone that is really stuck. They're in transition. They want to reinvent themselves and they're going through a challenge right now. And, I'm not, grief is part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a grief counselor. I'm not going to be out there, being a grief counselor. However, if I meet someone that is going through what I've gone through, I'm going to help them or try to help them in that area, with this journey of loss. But I'm not, like I'm really a bit, not real. I am a business coach, and I really help the women and men who want to start a business and create that framework, that structure to get them to make money in their business and really having that joy. So my business, From Job to Joy, is really taking them, that transition from that 9 to 5 into starting a business, and if not, like I said earlier, as long as they're loving what they're doing, finding their passion, getting clear on who they are and why, they want to do what they do, like what excites them every day. And I want people to get excited every day. You can make a difference. And what's the difference that you want to make? So if every day, like I ask myself, like every day I journal, I pray, all right. And I say, all right, what am I going to focus on today? God, what do you want me to do today? What do you want to say to me today? And so that's really how I start my day, is really coming from that place, and the right person's going to come, because I want to help the right person, the one that is ready and willing and tired of being sick and tired of where they are. And that's who I want to help. Really, someone that is ready. I'm not looking for the excuses people. I've had those people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm looking for people that are ready. They're done. And now, okay, Tina, what do I got to do? And let's get you started.
That's good. That's good, Coach Tina. That's a great way to end after it.
Thank you.
I appreciate you getting on my show. You got a wonderful smile, good, awesome outlook on life, and a God-fearing woman that's helping others is awesome. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too, Mark, for having me here today.
All right. Let's catch you.
Have a great day, everybody.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Mark Cox. Real life, real topics, real conversation. We're passionate about motivation, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, and coming at it from a real angle. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we hope you had fun. We know we did. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at MarkCox100. Make sure to subscribe and review. And tell a friend or two about the show. For more, hit up the website at markcox.com. Till next time, keep it real.